Hey, troublemakers! It's finally here, the long-awaited JayDee Milo episode. Thank you so much for all of your patience and excitement while I've been putting the finishing touches on this. Among the many different events that took place over the last several months, I want to quickly share an experience I had recently with you guys because I feel like it goes hand in hand with a lot of the things JayDee and I discuss in this conversation. So I had a rather wild evening the other night. And by wild, I mean I ended up on the phone with 911 because some strange man was following me while I was driving home. Now, before anybody starts picturing me starring in my own episode of Dateline, let me just say, I'm not someone who jumps to conclusions. In fact, I'm usually the person trying to convince myself that I'm overthinking everything. At first, I thought, maybe he's just going the same way I am and doesn't realize how close he's been riding my ass the entire time. So I made a right turn, and so did he. So then I made another right turn, and so did he. And now my brain starts doing what I think all of our brains would do. It's telling me, Jojo, you're being ridiculous. This poor guy is probably just trying to get home, and you're over here casting him as the creep in a Lifetime movie. But something just didn't feel right. I knew that I was coming up on a traffic circle, so I drove around it twice. And so did he. So now there was no question, right? Nobody accidentally goes around a traffic circle twice because they suddenly developed a passion for roundabouts. So that's when my stomach just drops, because suddenly I wasn't wondering if I was being followed anymore. I was wondering what he was going to do next. And now he knew that I knew he was following me. And that's when he kicked things up a few notches. His driving became much more aggressive, trying to drive up beside me on the wrong side of the road, screaming like a banshee out of his window at me. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. It was like whatever game he thought he was playing suddenly shifted gears. That's when I picked up my phone and called 911. Thankfully, everything turned out okay. I lived to tell the tale. But after I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about how it's amazing how quickly women go into survival mode. You know, I didn't panic. I didn't freeze. I just started making decisions. Am I imagining this? How do I know that he's following me for sure? Where's the safest place to drive to? When should I call 911? All of this happened just literally in a matter of minutes. And the sad part is, I don't think that that's unusual. So many women spend their lives learning to read people, trust their instincts, recognize danger, and protect themselves. Sometimes it's from a stranger on the road. Sometimes it's from someone they're dating. Sometimes it's from the person they're married to. Different situations, same instinct, to stay safe. Which brings us to today's highly anticipated conversation. JayDee Milo and I had an incredible conversation. We talk about narcissistic abuse and domestic violence. We talked about why these relationships can be so difficult to escape, how manipulation slowly changes the way you see yourself, and why trusting your instincts is often one of the most important things you can do. Because whether trying to figure out if a stranger is following you or trying to figure out if someone you love is manipulating you, that little voice inside you matters. If you've ever questioned yourself or wondered why someone stayed in a relationship that looked so obvious from the outside, I think this conversation is going to give you a lot to think about. Now, before anybody starts emotionally preparing for an hour and a half of heavy topics, let me reassure you. We eventually completely changed the tone and turned the second half of this interview into an absolute blast. We play games, laugh until we're practically crying, wander into pop culture, tell ridiculous stories, and somehow end up having one of the most fun conversations I've had in a very long time. So yes, we tackle some really important topics in this episode, but we also laugh a lot because that's kind of the whole point of this show. Life can hand you some really heavy stuff. It can leave you questioning yourself, picking up the pieces, and trying to figure out where to go from here. But somewhere in there, you're still allowed to laugh. And sometimes that breather from all of life's trauma is exactly what reminds you that you're going to be okay. For the most part. All right, the wait is over. Let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Today's guest is JayDee Milo, and if you've ever survived a narcissist, family court, or a co-parenting situation that felt like psychological warfare, congratulations. This episode is for you. JayDee is a content creator, advocate, and certified problem for toxic people everywhere. He doesn't whisper about trauma. He kicks the door in wearing a wig and ready to read receipts. He's built a massive platform of over 1.6 million followers by dragging abusive behavior into the light with brutal honesty, razor-sharp humor, and wigs that make the laughter and the truth hit harder. He talks about narcissistic abuse, broken systems, and the kind of experiences people whisper about, except JayDee says them at full volume. And here's the thing. He didn't come up with this content in a brainstorming session. He lived it. Raised by a strong single mother, shaped by watching good parents get steamrolled by bad systems, and forged by his own battles with addiction and some truly dark seasons. JayDee turns survival into purpose, not motivational poster purpose, real, messy, and earned purpose. This episode is going to be hilarious, validating, unhinged in all the best ways, and wildly necessary. JayDee doesn't just make people laugh. He makes people feel seen, believed, and a little less crazy for knowing something was wrong all along. And if it makes a narcissist uncomfortable, even better. JayDee, I am so thrilled to have you here. How are you?
Oh my God. I have to tell you, that was the best intro I've ever had on any podcast, on anything I've ever done. You just made me feel so cool, way too important. I'm telling you, I felt pretty good about myself after that one. Thank you. I'm so excited. I was saying this to you earlier. I'm so excited to be on your podcast and talking about something that, really is passionate for me. And it's something that hits really close to home. As you said, I did grow up with a single mom who dealt with abuse really her entire life, starting from a little girl in an abusive household. And it sort of continued on into adulthood with my father. And then she did have a few partners after my father. And so, I witnessed my mother being treated like too many women nowadays get treated, not the right way, abused. Narcissism is so scary because you don't know what you're getting. It's almost like they bring their representative to meet you, and you don't actually meet the real person until you're pretty deep in, and that's terrifying. That's terrifying. Yeah. So, I lost my mom in 2011 to an accidental overdose. She actually overdosed on a prescription of fentanyl, which is so dangerous. And I say accidental overdose. I don't know if that's because I want to make myself feel better and say that it was accidental. I don't know for sure what was in her brain, but at that time in her life, and in her sobriety, she was in a good place. We both suffer from the disease of addiction. It's something that I battle. Depression runs rampant through my family. I have a big Italian family, East Coast. And, I feel the need to talk about things that I don't hear enough and that really, hit close to home, mean something to me. And I always say this to all women, and I'm going to say it to you in specific. Thank you for allowing me a seat at the table, because I'll never know truly what it feels like to be a woman, to be a single mom, to be an abused woman, to be like, those are things I'll never know what that feels like. But, I have witnessed it. I did watch a woman raise me and my older brother and go through so many things. And I've just always felt the need, even before her passing, to talk about the things that I don't feel like enough people talk about, but in specific men.
Right. No, I totally understand. And I think because you do have that experience of living it and seeing your mom go through it, you have a good firsthand account of it. You may not know what an actual single mom, feels day in and day out, but you're able to relate. And that's, I think, why your content resonates so much, because you say the things that we've all been experiencing and feeling. And now we feel from you, we get like a validation, where we know we're not crazy. Like, this is real, this has really been happening.
Yeah. And when you're in those types of situations, especially in a relationship with a narcissist who's, handing you a lot of abuse in different ways. A lot of people don't talk about emotional abuse and psychological abuse. And my mother said to me, and I'll never forget it, she said to me years and years later, after tons of therapy, she said, I would have rather have been just hit, because the bruises healed a lot faster than the psychological trauma. And that really stuck with me. Like, wow, it's something that is very hard for people to explain when you're a victim of. Emotional and psychological torture, really. I mean, when you're dealing with a narcissistic abuser, if we're talking about that specific person, the abuse is so chaotic that it is so hard to explain. It's almost like people may not believe it. I was actually talking to a woman the other day, and she told me that her husband used to take the battery out of her electric toothbrush, and he would do it on purpose so that when she'd go to brush her teeth every night, she would feel crazy. And it sounds so ridiculous and maybe basic, but that stuff really starts to make you feel like you're losing your mind. And I always say the cracks become craters. It starts off small, and then it just starts to get bigger and deeper. And before you know it, you're the metaphorical frog in the boiling pot of water. You're so deep in. And society loves to say, especially to women in specific, well, just leave. Just leave him. If it was that bad, you should just leave. And that lacks so much nuance. It's such an ignorant statement. The most dangerous time to leave an abusive relationship is when you're leaving it. That's the scariest time. That's when women lose their lives the most. I just was reading a study the other day. The number one cause of women's deaths between the ages of 18 and 44 is homicide by a man they know. That is terrifying. This is a global epidemic, not getting better. We need to work on laws. We need to work on legislation. I actually have a petition right now, and I'm gaining signatures for courts to recognize and understand emotional abuse, because that's not something currently recognized in our court system. Unless you have pictures of bruises and cuts and physical abuse, the emotional and psychological trauma that not only the abuser did during the relationship, but people don't understand post-separation abuse. It doesn't end when they leave. In fact, sometimes it gets worse, especially if you have a kid with them. And I know, just from talking to you a little bit and know your story a little bit, you can relate to everything I think I'm saying, right? Like, you know exactly what. And that's really why and what this is all about for me, is that if I can reach one more person, it was weird in the beginning when I would grow on social media. And all of this, by the way, none of it was intentional. I came on to talk about my mother's story, honestly, for me. It was a selfish thing. It was me, trying to honor her. I had lost her. I was just having a really difficult time in my life. I was young. I was in my 20s. And I had no idea how many women globally could relate to the story that I was sharing. I had no clue. It wasn't really
Right.
intended for that, honestly, and not in a bad way, but I'm just being honest. It was really for me to try to start healing and to honor
Yeah.
her legacy. It turned into something completely different. 50,000 women started following me, I think, in the first week when I started talking about
Wow.
this. And I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea. I thought my mother and our life was the minority. I thought we were the,
Right,
like the
right.
odd family. No, it's
Yeah.
really not. The two-parent healthy household is more of the minority now, which is really sad and scary. So,
Hmm.
this really started out as not intentional and it grew into something where now this community really, it almost runs itself. Like, I feel like I don't even really need to be there. It's so amazing to see women commenting to each other, letting them know about different resources or advice
Yeah.
or their opinion on something. You feel less alone. And when you feel less alone, you become stronger.
Right.
Like, it's
Yeah.
powerful.
It is. It really is. And I know, I resonate with your content so much, and as do so many other women. You clearly, you ride hard for single moms. And as a
I
fan,
do. I do.
yeah, as a fan, of course I know that loyalty comes from being raised by an amazing single mom. But like, maybe for other people, maybe that haven't heard your entire story, like, would you mind kind of telling us a little bit more about your mom and her legacy that you are so beautifully honoring?
Thank you so much for asking. And I absolutely would love to share. My mother's name is Sandy. I still like to talk to her in the present tense. It's just for my own
Mm-hmm.
brain. I still feel like she's around me all the time. But
Yeah.
my mother was, and this is honestly the truth. I'm not biased. I promise. Everybody says that knew her. She was really beautiful, not only on the outside but on the inside. She
Mm-hmm.
radiated kindness and unconditional love. She was someone that you would never, ever have guessed the life that she had lived. She grew up with her aunt. So her mother and father divorced, and then her mother gave her away. And my mother wound up living with her aunt Camille, this woman Camille. And Camille tortured my mother from the ages of between 3 and 13. I mean, she shaved
Ugh.
my mother's head just to torture her and make her go to school with no hair. She
Oh
beat
my
her with
God.
dog chains. I mean, I should probably say extreme trigger warning here.
Yeah.
But it was a really
Wow.
horrible, horrific, lonely childhood. And at the age of 13, my mother ran away from that house, never looked back, and was really on the streets. And during that time, she had friends, and through meeting these friends, she met my father. And if you
Hmm.
think about a 13, 14-year-old girl with nowhere to go, and now there's a guy that's interested in you, and you only know abuse. The
Yeah.
rest of the story there, if the guy's not a good guy, is so predictable. And my father
Right.
is and was very abusive and took advantage of that and put my mother through torture for the next 9 years. It's either 9 or 10 years. I do have an older brother. He's 7 years older than me. And my brother really witnessed a lot of the abuse between our parents, my mother and
Hmm.
father. When my mother had me, she divorced my father. So I actually didn't grow up with my father too much in my life. He was in and out.
Right.
Um, I was my brother and I had kind of a different childhood in that sense, but my mother did have other relationships with terrible men. And it was hard to witness. And, eventually my mother really gained more tools. I always say this, you can only do what you can do with the tools and resources that you have. If you don't know any better, it's hard to do better. And my mother really lacked self-esteem, which always was crazy to me. Such a beautiful woman. She was so funny, by the way, too. Like, any of the funny stuff that I ever put on social media, it's for two reasons. It's to lighten the mood a little bit for all of us, because I do talk about a lot of heavy things, um, and I do that on purpose because it's true and it needs to be said. But I have to mix it up sometimes. You mentioned a bunch of wigs. I have like 100 wigs in this room. It's insanity. The wigs have become like a staple in this house. But I do that on purpose to lighten the mood a bit. And so many women thank me and say, oh my God, like I was going through a tough time. And then I saw that ridiculous video you posted of you with the wig on or whatever. And it really, it made me laugh. And that makes me feel so good that I was able to do that during a hard time. So I feel like there's a balance that's needed when you're talking about such a heavy topic in conversation that so many women can relate to. And I wanted to say this to you earlier too. When I started growing and my platform really started to hit like crazy numbers, I was like, whoa, it actually made me feel bad, like sad every time I gained followers because it was
Really?
more women that could relate to what I was
Oh,
talking about. So it was a different type of like, I'm not your typical, I guess, content creator where I'm talking about makeup or something. Like I'm specifically talking about women being abused in
yeah.
some form or all forms, and really being in a relationship with, either a narcissist, a narcissistic abuser, some type of unhealthy, toxic relationship.
Right.
So when I would see followers and subscriptions, that went straight to my brain of like, oh my God, that's another woman. There's more women that are going through this. And I would just see the number continuing to rise. And it was really saddening. But then my therapist said something to me and it changed my entire perspective. She said, whether or not they're following you or they click on your page and subscribe, they still exist.
Hmm.
They're still out
Hmm.
there. So wouldn't you rather them find a community where they can find other women to talk to and, have a place to go to not feel alone?
Right.
Wouldn't that feel better? Like it sort of clicked in my brain of like, they are there already. They are already out there. They exist globally,
Right.
whether I have content or not.
Yeah.
So I might as well try and, create some type of community because I don't see the representation of it. I don't see enough people talking about it. And how I said earlier, specifically men, I truly mean that. Where are the other guys, sons of single moms, just men that know that this is true? And I don't believe all men are bad. I'm gay. I happen to love men. Like it's not about a man hating or man bashing thing.
Right.
But the problem is there are bad guys out there. There are men that are specifically narcissistic abusers that don't want to hold up their end of the bargain and really, really put women through times that I don't think I would survive. Like I guarantee if you told me your full story, if I thought about it in myself and what I could overcome, I don't think I could do it. That's why I have so much respect
Yeah.
for women in specific. I was raised by women,
Yeah.
13 single moms in my family alone. So I really, really grew up knowing what women can do
Right.
and overcome. And I'm sorry, but they are the stronger gender. They just are. You guys can handle much more. You're way more mature. And I have the utmost respect
Yeah.
for women in specific. I always have.
Yeah. Well, and it really obviously shines through, on your videos. And, something too that I was thinking when you were saying about how you would feel bad or sad, when you would get more followers. And I totally agree with what your therapist said, but also the fact is that a lot of women, even like myself, when I found you, my relationship that had been with a narcissist was many, many years ago. And even though I still deal with it from time to time because we have a child together, it's not as dated, every day in my face. So I really was able to like look at your content as like, wow, I overcame this. Like I got through this. So it was very healing. To me, it wasn't a sadness of like, oh, I'm another number. It's that I was able to get through it. Message from future JoJo. Tiny continuity announcement. The rest of the episode was recorded a few days later because my internet decided it no longer supported happiness. The Digital Chihuahua Upload Department has already filed a formal complaint against the router, so we're hoping this doesn't happen again. The internal investigation is ongoing, and Philip's attorney has advised him not to comment. Now that that's out of the way, let's get back to the show. All right. So actually we were talking about your mom and about how, being raised by a single mom and sometimes a lot of people act like being raised by a single mom is tragic, as if like being raised by a man who hates women and accountability is a fucking gift.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
What did growing up with your mom teach you about strength and resilience?
Yeah, I love that question because it's funny. As a child, I always felt like I had more than other kids who had two parents. So I
Hmm.
never felt like I was lacking anything. I always felt like I had this amazing mom who was doing everything on her own. She was just like total badass. And I always felt like I had a healthier environment than a lot of the families that I would see. Like I'd go over to my friends' houses and their parents would be arguing. And I
Right.
always thought, this is better. Like, I always try to tell, especially women that are, feeling down about the fact that maybe their kid doesn't have a father in their life. First of all, one healthy, amazing parent is always better than two unhealthy parents. And I
Hmm.
always try to make sure to remind them that watching my mother do everything on her own and really giving her two boys the best life possible on a waitress salary with no car, no help from anybody, no handouts, just really
Yeah.
doing everything on her own. It taught me the value of hard work, of not giving up, not feeling sorry for yourself, really just making sure you're putting one foot in front of the other at all times. And again, I wasn't the kid that felt like I wish I had a dad in my life or I wish I had two parents. I just never felt that. I never felt the
Right.
void. I always felt really proud of the fact that my mom was doing what everyone else's two parents were doing and not as good. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
felt like my mom
Yeah.
was doing even better than that. So I guess that's kind of how I felt my entire life, but especially even as a kid in that situation. It was never like a shameful thing. I was just so proud of her.
That's awesome. And I think that that's really why it comes across so much when you talk about abuse and things like that in a way that feels very precise, like it's not academic but lived, where people can really relate to what you're saying. I know I was telling you before that, I was married to a narcissist and I
Yes.
spent
Yes.
years almost driving myself insane trying to co-parent, quote unquote, the right way. Like I kept thinking if I
Right.
communicated better or stayed calmer or just did everything perfect, it would eventually work. And it took me way too long to realize that healthy co-parenting, it's just not possible when only one person is playing by the rules.
Yep.
When, like, what do you see as maybe like the biggest lie that survivors of abuse are told that sort of keeps them stuck in that cycle?
Well, first of all, that narcissists or abusers can change or that you can help change them. You
Right.
can't change anybody that doesn't want to change themselves. And in my opinion, and I'm not medically trained, I'm not licensed in psychology, but in my opinion, and the things that I have learned and read and researched, narcissism is an innate trait that actually a very small part of the population actually suffers from.
Hmm.
And it is not something that can be cured. Narcissists don't think anything's wrong with them. Therefore,
Right.
they're not going to seek out help, right?
Right.
They don't see themselves as needing help or needing improvement. They're perfect.
Hmm.
Everything that they
Hmm.
do is spot on. You're always in the wrong. And with moms who share a child with a narcissist or a narcissistic abuser, they usually go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They always ask, what's the best way I can co-parent with a narcissist? And the answer is you can't.
You can't.
You
Yeah.
cannot co-parent with a narcissist. Now, women are forced to a lot. They're
Hmm.
forced to try to make that work, but you will never get 50-50. This person will
Right.
never meet you in the middle. They're going to try to make things as hard as possible, as messy as possible,
Yeah.
make you as miserable as possible. Mediation rarely works. It really
Right.
does. A lot of people say, well, try to mediate first. Try to sit down. No, because once you give them what you want and what's going to work for you, they're
Hmm.
going to try to do the exact opposite. So I always say it's probably not even worth trying to mediate first because you're putting out on the table the schedule that's going to work for you, the things that are going to make they're going to want to do the opposite. They don't
Yeah.
want to make things easy.
Right.
They
Right.
often hate you more than they love their child, which is a
Yes.
very typical trait of narcissism. Is
Mhm.
when you just focus so hard on the fact that you can't stand your ex more than the love of your own child. That's insane.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say that's the biggest lie about
Mhm.
narcissism and abusers is the fact that you can help change them, or with time they can change. The answer to
Right.
both of those things is absolutely not. And so
Yeah.
you're just getting deeper and deeper as you continue on with these type of people. And
Hmm.
I know, and I'm fully aware that the roles can be reversed as far as the genders. I
Yeah.
get, criticized a lot in the fact that, well, there's terrible moms out there and great fathers, and there's abusive women and great men. I'm
Sure.
very aware of the fact that this could switch, roles can be reversed, but factually speaking, not even taking my own experience into this or the things that I see and hear, factually speaking, there are way further and way more single moms that have dealt with a narcissistic man,
Yeah.
women that have dealt with narcissistic abusers that happen to be men. It's not all men at
Mhm.
all, but
Sure.
it happens to be a good majority, to the fact where I feel another man needs to speak out about this. Like,
Yeah.
I almost feel like, because of my gender, I feel more of a need to get in front of a camera and say, look,
Yeah.
not all of us are like this. Not all of us approve of this.
Hmm.
And, this is wrong. This needs to be talked about,
Yeah.
because it's so hard for victims to talk about.
Yes.
It's a very difficult situation. You've been in this situation. It's not easy to talk about. It's very hard to explain to people that don't get it. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
you can't even explain it. It's kind of makes
Yep.
no sense to other people if you've never been through it.
You're absolutely correct. It kind of like you were talking about before about the lady that told you about how her husband would take the batteries out of the toothbrush,
Yes.
to
Yep.
make her feel like she's going crazy. I totally understand that. And my ex-husband, now this was after we were divorced, but because we share a child together, I had to try to co-parent with him. And he,
Right.
because, he carried the health insurance on our child, he had access to like all of his, medical providers. He called every single one of our child's medical providers, mental health professionals, and all of his teachers at school and told them that I'm a heroin addict.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll go to, like, that's so
Yeah.
crazy. It's like, the how low can I possibly go to
Right.
ruin your reputation, to ruin your name? Wow. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But exactly what you said just a minute ago about his hatred for me is more important to
Mhm.
him than the love of our child. And
Yeah.
and that is really sad.
It is very sad, and it's very selfish, and it's something that can't change. This is not
Right.
something that, they can work on, because, again, they don't see anything wrong with what they're doing and how they're acting. That's why it's so scary. This is
Yeah.
not somebody who's, you know, who can reflect, and
Right.
someone who can look at their mistakes and go, "Okay, I want to work on this." No,
Hmm.
everything they do is perfect, and everything that you do, it's all your fault. This is
Right.
why you guys are no longer together. This is why you have the issues that you do. You. It's constant. It's finger pointing. And you
Right.
just get to a point, and I've seen it with my mother. I've heard it and seen it with so many other women in my life. I have a lot of women in my life, a lot of women in my family that have dealt with this. And I've also been in relationships in my younger years with, I wouldn't say narcissists, but abusive people. There was a couple there. And
Sure.
you just realize that the further you go, the worse that it gets. It never gets better. You only get worse.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And something too, that I think I've sort of realized as I've gotten older is that control, while it really comes across as dominance, a lot of times it's more just like insecurity, their insecurities,
Yep.
almost like they have like a, it's insecurity with like a boner for authority or
Yes,
something.
exactly. Yeah, that's so true. Yep.
you know,
Yes. They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be
yes,
told, like, because, again, though, they're perfect. So why would they need to listen to
yes,
anything? They don't
right.
do anything wrong. Everything that they do is, they're angels.
Yes, they strut like royalty, and then, you shine a
Yep.
little truth on them, and really their throne is just like a folding chair.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's so true. And I often talk a lot about enablers, the people that are around them that enable
Yes.
this type of behavior and make them feel like they are the victim in the situation, and that what they're doing is correct. When you
Yeah.
do that with somebody that is dangerous and abusive and narcissistic,
Mm-hmm.
you're making the situation so much worse, number one. But number two, I feel like you're just as guilty as what their actions are because
Right.
you're pushing someone into believing that this is the right thing and
Right.
that what they're doing is, so they're part of the issue and they're part of the problem. I speak out for women. I am such an advocate for women and the female
Mm-hmm.
gender. I have so much respect for them. I will say this, so many women tell me that sometimes this man's biggest enabler is his mother, which
Oh,
always breaks
yeah.
my heart because it's like, oh my gosh, I speak out for women and I'm such an advocate for women that I I hate talking about anything that has to do with, maybe women being the enablers, but that is
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the cases, usually his mother, and I hear oftentimes too, his sister. And obviously,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't everybody. And when I hear that a woman has an amazing mother in law or ex mother in law, I love that so much because that's more
Yeah.
support for someone who needs it. But I do have to say, I hear it a lot. I hear it often that he is enabled by mommy still, that he can
Mm-hmm.
live rent free at mommy's house, doesn't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a big part of the issue and part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not blaming the enablers fully, but they are definitely, definitely part of the issue.
Right, right. And I think too, and I know it's kind of a little bit apples and oranges, but there's also like, are you familiar with the flying monkeys theory?
Yes. Yes.
So those,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I feel like those people, while they are part of the problem, they don't realize like it's almost like they're being gaslit and manipulated by the narcissist just as much.
Hmm.
You know, I
That's
mean that.
true. That's
Yeah.
true. Very true. Yeah, sometimes they don't even realize or everything that they're being told
Mm-hmm.
um, is often a lie from the abuser, and they do
Yeah.
something called triangulation, where they're telling one person one thing, and then the other
Yeah.
person something completely different, and then that's on purpose. That's to cause
Mhm.
division and make people fight around them this way that they
Right.
cause more tension. And but there are cases too where, like an enabler knows exactly what's going on and
Mhm.
still just
Yes.
really backs this person and doesn't hold them to the fire with anything. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's so, again, it's so dangerous. It's
Yeah.
so irresponsible. And it really causes such a bigger problem because when you light fire to a narcissist who thinks he's right, oh my gosh, now it's just like, it's
Yeah.
double damage almost, it's like no holds bar. And it's so scary. It
Yeah.
really is. It's terrifying.
It's yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really have been curious with, like, because you do get, we'll call them haters, like, some
Hmm.
people. I've seen you even post. I think it was maybe a few weeks to a month ago or so, where like you had people that were reporting your videos and stuff like that. I just
Yeah.
find that so
Yep.
insane. What keeps you going when you know that you're going to have to deal with the haters too?
Yeah, well, there's so much more love and people that are saying thank you and this is
Yeah.
really helping me in my life, or so when I know that this is helping victims and in specific women that really need to hear they're not alone, you're not crazy. This is
Mhm.
really an epidemic at this point.
Yeah.
I expect the haters at this point. In the beginning, it used to get to me, but I've been doing this for so many years now that not only do I expect it, but when I get it, I know I'm doing something right because all I'm doing is it must be hitting home for some of these
Right.
people that I'm speaking about, because I'll say this, I have a lot of men that actually do message me and say, thank you. Thank you for speaking up about, the bad ones. And so it
Yeah.
doesn't offend the good ones because I'm not talking
Yes.
about them. I'm not
Exactly.
speaking about the great men that support their girlfriends and their wives and the great fathers out there. That's not who I'm talking about. And I always make that very clear. I'm
Mhm.
talking about the ones that are the opposite of that are abusive, that are non existent, that do emotional abuse, that put them through financial abuse, which is something a lot of people don't talk about. Financial abuse is one of the worst things out there. What it does to somebody mentally, psychologically, it's such a draining type of abuse. Is very, again, hard to explain.
Mhm.
Um, you know, these are things that are happening across the globe, not just in America. These are things that happen everywhere, in every country out there. And so, yes, I absolutely do get people that find my videos to be offensive. But again, why? Does it
Right.
speak to you? I mean, is
Yeah.
this something that's maybe ringing home? And
Right.
usually it is. I would
Right.
say the people that are reporting the videos and commenting negative things and being nasty, it's because, it's hitting home for them in a way where
Exactly.
they feel like I'm talking about them, and so I must be talking about you, you know?
Yep. If the shoe
But
fits.
there's so many women. Exactly, exactly. But I get so many women in specific, and also men, but mainly women, that really say, that something rang true to them and it really helped them, or something that I said made them feel less alone. So for that sense, I know that I'm speaking truth, number one, and my message is getting to the right people. And that's why
Right.
I continue. That's what this was all about from the beginning.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
mission and my efforts will never change. This is never going to veer into something else. My goal, my mission, um, my vision, everything that I speak about, it's all for basically one thing: in honor of my mother
Hmm.
and anyone who can relate to anything that she's gone through. So
Yeah.
the train keeps moving. You could try to block my videos, you can try to report them. I will create 6 more pages. I will never shut up about this. I'm on every platform. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. On TikTok. You can't really
Right.
shut me up.
I love
I'm from
it.
Jersey. I got my mother's heart. I got her attitude in a good way, and so yeah, you can't really. I'm not like easily stopped or kicked
Yeah.
down or made to feel like I can't speak about something. That's just not my.
Yeah.
That's just not my personality.
Right. I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
You're you're also, constantly holding space for other people's trauma. And does that like cost you anything emotionally, or like how do you keep from carrying everyone else's pain with you?
Oh, that's a really good question too. Thank you for asking that. Someone early
Yeah.
on in my, I guess, social media career who does something very similar to what I do. They speak about the same topics and, talk to lots of people throughout the week and hear their stories. They said to me, you're taking on a lot. So make sure that you leave some time for you and really have some space for just some like alone time and to just kind of
Yeah.
like recollect and get your brain into a good spot, because it's true. When you hear so many really really horrible stories that people are going through and dealing with currently, first of all, you can't help but feel for that person. I
Mhm.
feel everything someone tells me. I feel it in
Yeah.
my bones, because so much of it usually is what my mother went through too. So it's
Right.
like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that there's another woman out there that has to deal with this, and it's heartbreaking. So
Yeah.
I allow myself sometimes just full days of no stories or
Right.
no talking to certain, because just for my own mental health and to make sure that I'm good, so that when I do
Yeah.
talk to people or when I am speaking out or when I am listening to somebody, I'm present, I'm fully there.
Mhm.
I do suffer from depression. It runs in my family. My mother suffered from it.
Yeah.
I do suffer from addiction. I've been sober now over 5 years now, but
That's
I had a
great.
terrible drug addiction. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's good. It's less hard now. Once you continue
Yeah.
on, you have some time past you. It's not as hard as it used to be, but it's still there. And so I do have to make sure and be very conscious of my own mental health and
Mhm.
where I'm at mentally. And that's just, something that
Yeah.
I take seriously, but I really make sure that it's a routine so that I can be present and the best that I can be and show up for the people that I need to show up for.
Yeah. Yeah. I really
Yeah, I hope that makes
understand.
sense.
It does, yeah, because, I mean, even, I'm very new at this, my podcast is still new, but
Yeah.
even just in the last 3 months, I've gotten to speak to people all over the world, and their stories are powerful, but some of them
Yep.
are very heavy, and I feel very similar, like how you explained, that I really feel what they're saying. I may not have lived it, but I can really feel, the almost the trauma come through,
Yep.
and the heaviness. So I really understand that.
Yes. And that would be my advice to you too, because you're in it now and you're in the thick of it. And you not only are hearing these things, you can relate
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
you know exactly what a lot of this is, and you know, because you've been through it. So
Mhm.
for you too, make sure that you're taking time to just make sure that you're good, because when you're an empath and you feel things, and I can tell that you are just because we've talked now, and I can sense
Mhm.
that you really take things on, you're a feeler,
Yeah.
you are compassionate, you're empathetic. Same here. That's a blessing, but it can also be a curse if you don't make sure that
Right.
you're really taking the time to go, okay, cool. So I just need some time for myself. I need to make sure that I'm good.
Yeah.
And so, whatever that means, if that means like sometimes you may have to slow down, or maybe you just need a day or two just to kind of
Yeah.
like that. I'm so glad somebody gave me that advice, because it's really helped me. It's helped me
Yeah.
to not become overwhelmed, or and not that it's so difficult on my end, but it can get mentally kind of dark,
Sure.
and I don't want to show up like that when I am showing up. That's not the
Yeah.
mood that I want to show. I want to show up my best. I want to make sure that I'm
Yeah.
giving what I need to give.
Right. Right.
So I would say that for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Attention! This is an official announcement from the Department of Questionable Decisions. The educational portion of today's program has officially concluded. The remaining content may include celebrity fangirling, unnecessary tangents, unsupervised party games, and an alarming disregard for the original topic. Proceed at your own risk.
Well, we have talked about some heavy things and some real things, but now I need to
Yeah.
know if you're ready to have some fun and
I am always ready to have some good times, girl. Yes. I'm so excited for this. You told me a little bit about it. So I'm in. If
yes.
there's a game, if there's I'm all
Yes.
about it. Yes.
Okay. So we're going to judge some terrible advice. We're going
Okay.
to talk about some pop culture nonsense and a
Love it.
little bit of humanity's worst dating decisions. So,
Oh, okay. I'm in. Let's do it.
so the first game is called The Worst Advice I Ever Got Was. And
Oh.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a piece of terrible advice. But I'm not going to tell
Okay.
you who gave it. And then
Okay.
you're going to try to guess who said it. Like, nothing too specific. It's like either mom, dad, boss, whatever, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then we're going to
Yep.
decide what to do with that advice. Like, is it, they meant well, bless their heart. Or do we need to throw this advice in the river and never talk of it again?
Right. Okay. All right. I'm in.
Okay. But right before we get started, I'm just out of curiosity. Have you ever received a piece of advice that was so terrible you couldn't believe it?
Oh. Yes. I usually get this piece of advice often, probably daily, and it's to stay in my lane and not talk about women's issues when I'm not a woman. I would say that's pretty bad advice, only because I get so many women that say, please don't stop, please
Right.
continue. It's really helping out. And so, not that I'm some savior in any sense or anything like that, but I do feel like, I've been offered a seat at the table by so many amazing women. So, I would say, yeah, I'm told to shut up daily, and I just feel like that's kind of something I'm not going to follow. I ain't shutting up anytime soon, unless my mamas tell me, "Listen, we don't need you to speak anymore until that day happens."
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going.
Awesome. Okay, so the first piece of advice here. Now, this was said, just so you know, this one piece was said in 1995. This
Okay.
person said, "You should have kept your job with Sears and moved your way up in the company."
Oh gosh, you shouldn't. Wait, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, you should have kept your job with Sears, the department store. Do you remember that old department store?
Yes, I used to work there. I used to have
Did
I
you?
did an internship there. Yes, yes. I'm like, oh my god, is this like my old boss? Are they telling me this? What is this advice?
So
Oh my
clearly it was
gosh.
terrible, terrible advice because they went out of
Yes,
business or whatever happened to them.
yes.
So, so somebody said this to them. So who do you think said it? Like, who do you think gave? Like, was
Gosh.
it like a family member or? A friend.
I would say it sounds like it's a terrible, maybe like is it a father that's saying something like this to
You're
their kid?
close. You're really close. It was the grandfather.
The grandfather.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. But you know what? That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the next one this is the advice. You already paid for your wedding, so now you have to go through with it.
Whoa. That sounds like, um, gosh, that sounds like a terrible parent. Like, is that
Yeah.
a father or a
It was the
mother?
mother. It was the mother.
Gosh, mother, and that's a horrible advice. Like
Right.
horrible. Don't listen to that advice.
Exactly. And just a side note on this one, this person, they only paid $150 for the wedding. So the fact that the mom was like, you have to go through with it.
Yep. Oh gosh. And even if you exactly, and even if you paid $1 million, if you don't want to go through with that, you better get out. Never
That's
worth it.
right.
But yes, that's horrible advice.
That is right. That's right. So let's see. This is a good one. So this person had a second job. They were working at Walmart and they had an asthma attack that was so bad that their inhaler wasn't working and they had to go to urgent care for a nebulizer treatment. A week later, they were told, next time it happens, just take a Tylenol.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like a terrible boss or like a
Yep.
manager.
Yep,
Yes,
that was
that's
a terrible
horrible.
boss.
Again, ridiculous advice.
And the last one here is this one is just funny to me. When I was a kid, I started having double vision whenever I would look up. So this person said that I should just plan my life so that I don't have to look up regularly. Like plan a career where looking
Oh
upwards is
my
not
gosh.
required.
You know what? That reminds me of when, like, back in the day or something, if you'd say to somebody, God, like, it hurts when I touch my arm. And then the person would say, well, then don't touch your arm. And it's like,
Right?
yeah, I know, but sometimes I'm going to have to touch my arm. Yeah, that sounds like a bad friend. Am I right? This sounds like a terrible
No,
friend.
you're actually going to be pretty
Oh,
surprised. This was the eye
oh no.
doctor.
The eye doctor. Oh, geez. Oh my gosh. I hope that eye doctor is not in business anymore. That's insane. Oh my goodness.
I know. So I thought that was just a little bit of fun. But
That's
um
so fun. I love that part of it. That's a fun segment. I love it. Because you know what? There is such bad advice sometimes out there, but
yes.
the great thing is, just like anything, there's also really great advice and amazing things that people say and give you. And I love when someone gives advice because they know what they're talking about
Right.
personally. You know what
Oh
I'm saying?
yeah.
Like I
Oh
love
yeah.
when someone's actually been through something or can relate to it in some sense.
Yeah.
And because it's like, how can you speak on something you have no idea about at all?
Mhm.
You've never been through any of this. You have no personal lens.
Mhm.
That's hard for me to take advice from someone. Not
Yeah.
always, but I just love when someone's speaking from experience. I just feel like it's way more powerful. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. No, yeah.
they're really speaking from the truth.
Yes. It's a big pet peeve of mine because you can tell when somebody really has no idea what they're talking about.
Mm, yep, you sure can. Exactly. And you're like, maybe we should give advice on something else. Maybe not this.
Well, our next little game here is called Cancel Me If You Can. And
Oh.
something I know, right? Something I've realized is, and I don't know if other people would agree here, but like pop culture drama right now, like for let's just say 2025, I really felt like it was kind of boring, especially when you compare it to like the pop culture drama we had in say like the year 2000. It just
Yeah,
seemed like it
true.
was a
Facts.
lot more fun, back then.
Yes. A little dry recently. Yes, I
Yes,
agree.
yes. I mean, maybe one or two things were kind of, fun or whatever, but for the most part,
Yeah,
really kind of blah.
I agree. Yep.
So with this game, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read different, or, tell you about different pop culture topics or like a trending thing that happened. But instead of like we're going to flip the years. So like what really happened in 2025 now happened in the year 2000. And then what happened
Oh,
in
okay.
2000 happened in 2025. And
Oh, okay.
so we're going to decide, or really you're going to decide, what would have happened if that really, happened in that timeline. So like, would that person have been canceled, or maybe just no one would have
Oh,
cared, you know,
right.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Different times where it's so interesting what was allowed and what isn't at certain times.
Yes,
Yeah. Yep.
exactly,
Okay. I
exactly.
get it. I'm in.
All right. So the first one, picture the year 2000 and Katy Perry goes to space.
I feel like that would have been such a less deal then. I think that, it was such a big, huge thing because you're right. There's no good drama happening in the sense of like, where's all the other stuff?
Right.
This is the biggest thing we're talking about is Katy Perry going to space. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are going to disagree. I feel like people back then would have probably thought it was cool and probably
Yeah.
would have been, given her props for it if it happened in
Right.
2000.
Right.
But, obviously it did the opposite for her recently.
Exactly. Exactly. And her kissing the ground, I think maybe people still would have made fun of her for that. But I do think that
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
correct that it would have been cool in
yeah,
2000. Yeah.
exactly. I think it would have been like really, really something people got behind. And yeah, she would have been totally, totally respected for it. It'd been the coolest thing. But yeah, 2025, it was the opposite.
Exactly. Yeah. Jennifer Lopez's Versace dress. Remember the green dress that was like the deep V-neck?
Yes.
If she
Yes, I
had
do.
never worn that in 2000, but she wore it in 2025, do you think it would have gotten the attention that it did back then?
Absolutely not. Unfortunately, not. People wouldn't even think twice about it. I think
Right.
in that time and in that moment, it was so risky. It looked so beautiful. It looked
Oh
so
yeah.
gorgeous, but it was also very daring and shocking and revealing. Now I feel like people could walk naked on the red carpet and it's not going to make headlines. So no, I don't think it would be the same impact 25 years later.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No.
You're right. You're right. Because I can't remember who it was, but somebody just recently wore like those like gloves that you wear to wash dishes and like a wig cap.
Oh, yes. Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep. Exactly. And you think, a Versace dress is going to make an impact? Ain't going to happen, girl. There's too much out there now. People are really going out there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
So let's say in the year 2000. Okay, so I wrote about Justin Timberlake because, actually in 2025, there was lots of talk about him struggling to sing, during some of his tour dates and videos showing him like barely singing or hitting notes. And
Yeah.
now he did
Yep.
go on to say that he'd been battling Lyme disease, which affected his voice. And so I really sympathize with that. But I feel like
Yeah.
even if this had happened in 2000, like, I'm curious what you think, because I always felt like his vocals were kind of shaky. Like, I don't know, is that just me?
Yes. No, I totally agree. I don't think that his strongest point. I think even in the band, I was like a big in syncer. I
Me
loved them.
too. Me
I
too.
always thought JC
Oh,
was the
yeah.
stronger vocalist out of the whole group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Justin took off more because I do think he probably had a bit more swag and I think
Yeah.
that he had the looks and all that. But yeah, I don't know. I never thought that he was like this really strong, amazing singer ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I also think too that he's had a lot more controversy throughout the years. He was
Hmm.
caught cheating on Jessica Biel at one point on a
Yeah.
set of a movie. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if you remember that,
I
but there was a
do.
lot of things. Britney's book, yeah,
Yep.
Britney, when her book came out, you kind of learn more things about behind the scenes, what was happening, and sort
Uh-huh.
of where he was at, and the fact that he cheated on her, but then made it seem like she
Yes.
was the one that cheated, and that's why they broke up. So
Right.
I almost feel like when you put all those controversies back to back to back, when something comes up like his singing or his bad moments on stage, people will grab onto that because they don't like you now because of all
Yeah.
the other things you've done.
It's
So
true.
I don't know if he's has if he's as loved and revered in the public as he used to be.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree.
You know, we're aware of so much more nowadays. Things get
Mhm.
leaked way more. There's so many more cameras. People catch things on their phones. So the um the story that you want to tell the press about how certain things are or somebody, it's so obvious nowadays of like, no, we can clearly see that he's holding that woman's hand under the table at dinner and he's
Yes.
cheating on his wife. Like we can see it with our own eyes. You can't tell
Yeah.
us that that's not what that is.
Right.
So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. But I think
Yeah.
that, yeah, he was never though the strongest of singers, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And I am such a diehard, like I have a love for Britney and Janet Jackson that I
Yes,
feel
me too.
like anybody who would do them wrong, I just automatically don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. Leave our girls alone.
Leave Britney alone!
What are you doing?
Yes.
And like speaking of those two, you can say what you want, but those are two of the best dancers I think that we have in history.
Absolutely.
Not even just female dancers, any type of dancers. Those two in specific, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
just like incredible stage presence, both of
Really.
them.
Yeah. And so beautiful.
Yep.
They're so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Stunning. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
I got two more for you here.
Okay.
So Eminem's mother sues him for $10 million in a defamation case over the lyrics in songs. So if that happened in 2025, what do you think would have really happened?
I don't think any of us would have even really known about it. I think that's another one that was so big and so public. But I'll say this, he was also way more popular back then too than he is
Yeah.
now. He was huge.
Yes.
You know, he was just one of those absolute megastars, which I think that everyone's famous nowadays, that we don't even have that type of culture where people are so obsessed with celebrity culture like we used to be, or
Mhm.
the fact of Eminem's mom suing. I don't even think people would bat an eye today. I think
Yeah.
you'd read it maybe or see it and then you forget about it because there's just so much more going on. You know, there's
Right.
so much bigger things to talk about, but also there's so many more people that are in the spotlight now. I feel like celebrity, what does that even mean? But also it's like, don't you feel like it's quadrupled in number? Like everybody's famous now. Everybody.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, what is fame? You know, and we don't look at fame and we don't look at celebrity culture, I think, like we used to. I don't think it's
Yeah.
as what's the word? Like it's as revered. I don't think people
Right. Like
bow
prominent.
down to the fact that just because you're famous. Yeah, I don't think it's like that anymore. I think
Right.
that that's changed throughout the years, which I actually think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing, and I also think it's
Sure.
kind of sad because it was kind of cool to think of celebrities and movies and Hollywood as like this
Yeah.
magical thing that, like, oh my gosh, only the lucky ones go to. And I feel like that's really, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, that screen has been broken. I feel like.
Yes. And I feel like it's really a double-edged sword because one, I think that's a big reason why the pop culture drama now is kind of boring. And
Yes.
the
Yep.
the fact that there's been this light now shown on all the power hungry, like the evilness that
Yep.
goes on has
Yes.
really, really changed the dynamic where nobody's looking at them now as like the cool kids. Like, it's kind of grimy now.
Yes, exactly. It definitely has a different feel to it, a different connotation. I think even too, if you go through like with the Harvey Weinstein stuff, that's a
Yeah.
huge part of Hollywood and Hollywood history. And you realize, oh my gosh, what has happened to these specifically women that
Mhm.
have just wanted a career in acting or just wanted to
Yeah.
act and do things and star in movies and what they had to go through. And so, yeah, I do feel like Hollywood and that whole, again, the fourth wall has been broken.
Yes.
You know, it's no longer, it's just not looked at the way that it used to be. Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
Right. So then for the last one, I'm curious what you think, if there would have even been a reaction to this. So Angelina Jolie, she made headlines when she kissed her older brother James on the lips at the Golden Globes.
Oh yeah. Yes, I
little
remember that.
cringy, a little
Yep.
creepy. Um,
Yes. Yep.
but what do you think the reaction would have been? Would have been the same?
That's a good one. Okay, so I'll say I don't think it would have been as big of a reaction, but I do think that if that happened now with specifically someone like Angelina Jolie, I think it might. Not as powerful. There's so much craziness happening that like I don't think it's going to shock
Yeah.
people. But I think that might, maybe stay on a few articles for at least maybe like a week. Angelina Jolie caught because I mean it really looked like they were like kissing like kind of like lovers. It was
Yeah.
weird. I
It
felt like
really
that was
was.
very incestual. It gave me the creeps. They look just exactly alike. Like you can tell they're siblings. Their face
Yes.
is exactly the same. And so, yeah, and she was in that bad girl era too, where she was like having sex with Billy Bob Thornton in a limo before they showed up to the carpet. Like she was really, remember they would like wear each other's blood on a
Yes.
vial. I mean, she was really pushing it. And
Uh-huh.
I love Angelina Jolie. I think she's so cool.
Yeah.
That moment though, creepy, weird.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be the same reaction, but I still think some people, especially like, I don't know, it just was so strange. You see
Yeah.
this, they look like twins.
I
Like
know.
literally.
I
Like
know.
so similar looking. And you
Yeah.
guys are practically making out on the carpet. What's happening? What is going on?
Yeah, I think that definitely would be a little newsworthy even still.
A little bit. Yeah. Maybe not as much, but yeah, that was crazy. And I think it'd still be a little nuts.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so that was really fun. I like that game. That was fun.
I love that. Yeah, that's a really cool part of the segment. Thanks for allowing me to do that because I love that. And you know what? That allows for, I try to do that with my content too. You give people kind of best of both worlds. We'll go dark and we'll go
Yes.
serious and we'll talk reality and really what's going on. But then we can lighten up it a bit. Like we could, it's good to laugh for a little bit and smile and maybe not be in that headspace for too long. So I love that part of the, yeah, what a cool show. I love this.
Thank you so much. Well, I've got one more for you.
I love it. Yeah.
This is called No Love Connection. Now, this really isn't so much like a game, but just like I have some worst dates that have happened to some of our listeners. And really, I just want to hear your like immediate reaction. Like, what is the first thing that comes to your head when you hear this?
Oh, okay.
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 And by all means, be savage, be chaotic.
Oh, girl, I'm right. Yeah, I'm gonna go right with exactly what I'm thinking. Yep.
Okay. The first one is called the hot dog dinner. First date with a guy. He offered to cook me dinner. It seemed a little strange, but also romantic, so I accepted. We went shopping together for the ingredients and then went to his house. He shared a house with 2 other roommates, so I felt safer knowing that we wouldn't be alone. He cooked dinner, then brought it into the bedroom so that we would watch a movie together. I insisted he leave the door open. Everything seemed fine until he got up after we ate and then closed the door. I didn't even have time to panic before he turned around, pulled his pants down, had his member hanging there, and said, "Put your mouth on it."
No. Oh no. Oh no.
I burst out laughing and ran out of the room. He chased me all the way to my car with it still out, begging me to come back.
Oh my God. What the hell?
He has been known.
Jesus.
He has been known as Hot Dog to me and my friends ever since.
Oh my God.
Isn't that terrifying?
Yes. Okay, my reaction to
Yes.
that, thank God you got away from this crazy psychopath, number one. And number two, Hot Dog Man seems extremely desperate. Jesus, what is going on? Like, that is crazy, crazy. I'm just happy she ran away in time. What the hell? And he still got the member whipped out as he's running? What the fuck is going on? Yeah, true psycho. Glad you got away, girl, because that's like a real friggin' weirdo right there. That's someone who definitely needs some help up top. Yeah.
Right? Nothing says romance like put your mouth on it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. First date, gosh, he's really, that's chivalry right there.
Yeah. Our date number 2. When I was about 24, I met up to hang out with this guy for our first date. I very quickly realized the friendly older couple that was sitting next to us were his parents. He had told them where we were going, and either he invited them or they decided to tag along. I never really found out. But to make matters worse, the uncomfortable date ended when his parents pulled up in front of where we were talking in the parking lot, and he left with them. First and only date, for the record.
Thank God, dude. Thank God that was first and only. This is someone who clearly can't cut the cord. This is someone who's attached to mommy's umbilical cord, probably still breastfeeds from her.
Right?
And yeah, psychotic. I would have ran out of there immediately. Whether he invited them or he didn't, that is a strange situation right there. You're going to be marrying the parents as well. Yeah, whoa. Absolutely not. Yeah.
I know. That is a horrible...
Psycho.
I can't even imagine.
God, me either. Me either. How uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, okay, the last one, last date here, it says, this guy had watched too many pickup videos, and no doubt he's an Andrew Tate fanboy. Silly on my part to have a date in a park during COVID lockdown because there was no one around and he was terrifying. He kept trying to touch me and grab me almost immediately, 5 minutes into the date. And my body language was literally like turning away from him. I didn't want to try to leave until other people were around, so it lasted longer than I would have liked. He showed me a video of him doing 50 push-ups, made me watch the whole thing, and insisted that I feel his guns twice.
Oh my God.
Yeah. When I left, he asked for a kiss, and I refused. He said, I love it when people play hard to get. I told him, I'm not playing, and he leaned in again. I said no, and he said, joke's on you. I always get what I want, and you are top of the list.
Oh, God. Okay, so all you needed to say was Andrew Tate fan. Yeah, that's the first sign to just go running.
Right.
And don't look back, girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
These crazy Andrew Tate fans, man, I didn't even know really who he was and all that he was about until kind of recently.
Me too.
I went down a rabbit hole and whoa. I mean, like who you like, listen to who you listen to, but the people that do listen to him, that mob, the Andrew Tate mob, that's exactly what I picture is that type of guy.
Right.
That type of like narcissist who feels like he could do anything and get away with anything and there's no boundaries. And it's like, oh God. Yeah. I would say that once you find out that this person listens to Andrew Tate on the regular, run.
Yeah.
Run the other way. Don't look back, girl. Because nothing good's going to come out of that situation.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Now, of course, I have to ask, have you ever been on a horrible or completely crazy date?
I love this. Have I ever been on a crazy date? Yes, I have. That's so funny you asked because I did go on this one date with this guy and we went to a restaurant and we sat down. I've never met him before. It was the first date. And he started asking me almost rapid fire questions. Where was I born? Do I want to get married in life? Do I come from a 2-family household? It was like question after question after question. And I was answering them and it was weird, but it was fine. I have nothing to hide. And in the middle of the rapid fire questions, he stood up and goes, I'm asking you everything and you're not asking me anything. I'm gone. And he literally left me in the restaurant.
Oh my God.
And I was like, wait a minute, what just happened? And I couldn't have even asked this man a question if I wanted to. I couldn't have got a word in edgewise. I mean, he was just like, and it was so strange. It wasn't like a natural conversation to get to know somebody. Yeah. It was legit like he had a list of like 20 questions that he wanted to get through.
Like he worked for the Census Bureau.
Yeah, exactly. Like, are you the CIA? What's going on here? I'm getting freaked out. It was the strangest, I'd say 15 minutes of my life.
Oh my God.
And then he just like got up and walked out. And then the waiter came over and was like, are you good? And I'm like, I think so. And he's like, I saw that. And that guy was weird. And I'm like, yeah, thank God he showed me who he was right from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that was insane. Yes. So that was the strangest thing I've ever, any date that I've been on, that was insane.
Yeah.
Some people, man.
I have a really bad date story.
Oh, tell me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Please.
So, now this was before smartphones. So like that's kind of important. So like, we didn't have autocorrect and you had to do the T9 texting, like
Mm.
55522,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I remember that.
it was a blind date. We met at, I think it was like a Ruby Tuesdays or something like that. Anyway, we sit at the bar.
Uh-huh.
He orders mozzarella sticks, like an appetizer for us to share and each a drink. He talked about his ex-girlfriend the entire time, and
Oh no.
it was all negative until he got to sex. Then apparently the sex with this ex-girlfriend was so incredible and so good that he said, "I know no other woman will ever compare." So I'm like,
Oh my God. What a great thing to say on a
I
first
know.
date to say, what the hell?
Right, right.
Jesus.
So I'm sitting there
What?
and I'm like, finally, I just do the whole like, oh, look at the time, it's getting late. And
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
then all of a sudden, he forgot his wallet. I'm like, whatever, no
Of
problem.
course.
I will pay the check. I would have paid
Of
it.
course.
Yeah, I would have paid it 10
Oh,
times over just to get out of there. So he
yeah.
insists on walking me. Yeah, he insists on walking me to my car, which, okay, I can't really rag on him for that because that is a gentlemanly thing to do. But do you
Sure.
remember the movie Hitch with Will Smith and Kevin James?
Oh, okay. I know the movie. I didn't see it, but I know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
okay. There's a scene in this movie where he's telling the guy about how a woman, if she wants you to kiss her at the end of the date when you walk her to the door, she will
Uh-huh.
usually like fiddle with her keys, that kind of thing, giving you time to make a move.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
I have
Okay.
my keys in hand, like ready to go. There's no fiddling. Like I am not giving any signs of
Yeah.
like, I want you to kiss me.
Right, right. Yeah, you're like, yeah.
Yeah. So he stands in front of my car door and he leans in. I know that it's coming. And this was,
Oh no.
yeah. And I was really, really bad at boundaries and like I didn't want to hurt anybody's
Yeah.
feelings and that kind of thing. So I let it
Yep.
happen.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Oh, it's I'm so glad I'm past that. I
Yeah. I think that comes with like age and
it
time.
it
Yeah.
does. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So I let him kiss me, whatever, and then I leave. I'm thinking, thank God, I just want to go home. I want to get out of here. And so I'm driving home
Yeah.
and I hear my phone ding like I've gotten a text message. But back then, especially, I did not text and drive. So I go the whole
Yeah.
way home and I look at the text and it's from him. And
Oh.
he wrote, this is what he said to me. I can't wait to give you the best organism of your life.
Oh. Oh God. Like, please spare me.
Right?
Oh my
But,
God.
or I love that he said organism instead of orgasm.
Organism. Oh my God. Yeah, it's like, dude, you can't even spell it. You definitely can't make one. We're not doing this. Yeah. Oh my God, that sounds horrible.
Isn't that the
Oh, please
worst?
tell me that was a one and only
Oh,
date.
of course, of
Yes,
course.
yes. Oh my gosh. It's like you think about it and you're like, do you actually think that this is gonna work? Like you
Right.
thought that was a good idea. To literally text that? What the hell? Oh my God, people are so creepy sometimes.
They really are.
Oh
Oh,
man. Yeah.
well,
I always feel bad for especially when, people are in like their 20s and it's so hard to set boundaries because we've been there, right? And it's
yeah.
not easy and you feel bad and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But then you go through life and you're like, I don't want to hurt my own feelings. I don't want to like I come first.
Yeah.
I'm setting the boundary, Because yeah, because I've been there too, where you're like you feel bad or like you've been on a date and maybe you're not feeling it, but the guy does, and you want to
Yeah.
give like they want to give you a kiss, and you're like, oh, fine. Now I'm like, oh, I mean, I'm not dating, I'm with somebody, but I
Right,
would
right.
never now because you learn, you get older, and you're like, oh my gosh, the things I used to put up with
I know.
just to spare people.
Oh, it's
Yep.
so cringy.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a horror story. Yeah. Oh
Oh,
man.
well,
Oh, I love that though. I love that people can all share.
yes,
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 it gives us something to laugh about, in our later years, and that's
yes. Exactly. And we can all relate to a bad date. I mean, come on. I
yes.
think we've all had at least one.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, that was so fun though. I love that.
Well, there we have it, right? Humanity's first date history in a nutshell. It's horrifying,
Yeah,
ridiculous, and somehow
exactly.
hilarious. JD, I'm not sure anything will ever surprise us again after these stories, these worst date stories.
I know, literally. Yep.
Before we, wrap up and everything, where can everyone follow you online and just keep up with everything that you're doing?
Yeah. So you can find me at JayDee Milo everywhere, really. So it's at JAYDEE_Milo, MILO. And I kind of just keep it the same on every platform so people can find me. And I'm kind of on all of them. I
Yeah.
think I'm on all of them besides X.
Oh, okay.
I'm not on X, but everywhere else I am.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for just
Yeah.
sharing everything today that you have and talked with me. And most importantly, thank you for the work that you're doing and supporting single moms and calling out toxic behavior and really just making people feel seen, in a world that usually just tells us to shut up, right?
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I really, really enjoyed the conversation
Oh,
and
thank you.
I appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me onto the show. And I
No.
wish you all the best with the show. I'm going to follow. I'm definitely going to be a big supporter, watching everything and hearing things. So
Oh,
I
thank
appreciate it. I
you.
love being here.
Thank you so much. Really,
Yeah.
yeah, as a single mom myself, every time I hear you talk about your mom and the love that the two of you shared, just really melts my heart. I have an 18-year-old son, so I
Oh,
really understand that bond. And I thank you for
yeah.
sharing that with the world. And to everyone listening, if you haven't followed JD yet, you're missing out. JD's content is sharp, hilarious, brutally honest, and exactly what we need more of. You'll laugh, you'll feel validated, and maybe you'll even learn a little bit about how to spot manipulation before it sneaks up on you. So, JD, thank you again so much for being here today. This was so much fun. I just adore you, and I am so honored that you joined me today.
Thank you so much. Ditto. And I hope to talk soon.
If you enjoyed today's episode, I've got a few favors to ask. First, if you're not already following No Hard Feelings, kinda, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, go ahead and hit that follow button. It really does help more people discover the show. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you subscribe because that channel has been growing like crazy lately and I'd love to have you along for the ride. And if you're looking for something a little different, check out the No Hard Feelings kinda journals. They're designed to help you laugh a little, reflect a little, and maybe discover a few things about yourself along the way. Plus, it's significantly less weird than me showing up at your house asking, "So, how are we feeling today?" Finally, please go show some love to JayDee Milo. Subscribe to his YouTube channel, check out his content, and follow him wherever you can. I've put all of his links in the show description and on nohardfeelingskinda.com to make it super easy. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I'll see you next time. Until then, make good decisions, or at least make interesting ones. And remember, therapy's expensive. Share your chaos with me for free. And if you'd rather not, that's okay too. No hard feelings. Kinda.